Welcome back to Bobblehead Homestead. I am Jeff. Today is Friday. Upper 90s, sunny, humid. There is a breeze and that does make a difference. Drew and Lindsay are down there. We just got back from lunch. I didn't show up until noon. Chicken chores to do this morning, which I didn't do last night because I was editing the video that went out last night. So I had to do it anyway. I'm here. We had a nice lunch. And they are back at it down there. They just took down a tree and they are in the process of stealing more earth to put on the house site back there. So they spent the night here last night and they are going at it all day today. Yeah, the least I could do is take them out to a good lunch. Black Dog Meat Company in Boonville. Yeah, they're only open for lunches on like Monday through Friday, but yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Anyway, I'll wait until it's less noisy down there to take you around and show you what Drew is doing. But today, it's got to be done. It's got to be done. I got to talk about goats. I have to talk about some goats. On the one hand, I'm getting comments that I'm killing all the trees. I won't have any more shade for the chickens. And now on the other hand, I'm getting comments that I need to get goats and they'll kill all the trees for me to make room for the chickens. So yeah, sometimes you just can't win. But yeah, I need to address the goats. I need to address it. So why don't I just get goats and have them do all the work and everything will just turn out, you know, utopian and wonderful. I've never had goats. I've watched a lot of people on YouTube that have had goats, and I paid attention because, when people were getting new land 6 years ago when I was watching a lot more YouTube, they were also getting the suggestions, you need to get some goats to clear that land, and so, I've been paying attention to all that. And one thing I'll point out is that nobody on YouTube is making money on goats. Nobody is making money on goats. You do not make money on goats. They're an expense. And they're, you know, and I've learned from other channels, goats are escape artists. They're gonna get out all the time unless you put a huge investment in their fencing. So let me reiterate my situation right now. There's no fencing for anything. There's no fencing for anything. I don't live here. So, goats that just wouldn't be smart right now. And what else can I tell you? You know, the best people I've seen who seem to keep their goats contained and happy is Coghill Farm, you know, and that they aren't throwing out some electric poultry netting and keeping them in bay, because I'm sure they have learned that lesson. You need tall, strong fencing if you want to keep goats in. All right, so the next thing is goats are not free. They are not free at all. You know, I don't live here. There is no fencing. I can't just go out and borrow some goats and put them in here with nobody living here and no fencing. That just doesn't happen. And the bad thing about that is goats are also very susceptible to diseases and parasites, and you start moving them around and exposing them to new territories with new bugs, and yeah, you're looking at medicine bills. You might be able to get some goats for free, so there might not be any cost there, but they need medicines, they need shelter, they need food. They're not going to live off the land. They still need a lot of food and minerals and vitamins, and you got to trim their hooves, and yeah, so, you know, not even counting the fencing, you probably got $1,000. You probably got $1,000 to get started on goats. Throw in the fencing, shoot, fencing is 10 grand. If you want a good enough area for the goats that'll keep them contained so you're not chasing them around for 3 or 4 hours a day. Yeah, goats are not free. They are very expensive. Now compare that $1,000 to hiring a bulldozer for 6 hours. A bulldozer is going to be a much better investment of your $1,000 than getting goats, because goats do not clear forest. Yeah, that's one of the big myths out there. And let's go look at some trees, and I'll show you what the goats will not get. And they need fencing before you can put them anywhere to begin with. All right, let's just look at this little patch in here. Yeah, one big pine and then a bunch of smaller stuff. Well, how much of that stuff are the goats really going to take down to the ground? Not much of it. They'll take these little oak sprouts. They'll get some of that. We got some grasses growing in there. Yeah, they'll get all this stuff. You know, this little tree, they'll probably bend that down, chew it down. They'll probably leave 3 foot. They might get that whole thing. That coming up, I don't know, that's probably, they'll knock that over. It'll be laying on the ground. They won't eat all that. These 2 trees, no, they won't eat them all the way to the ground. It looks like 2 trees coming up there. No, they won't eat them all the way to the ground. Little one there. Yeah, a little one there. They won't eat that all. Yeah, so you get my point. Goats do not clear land. So if I were wanting to run a fence through here, I've got to run the fence before I have the goats to begin with. So there you go. Now, and if I'm running the fence, I've got chickens. And chickens will clear almost as much as goats will. And chickens are also good at maintaining once you do have it cleared. So yeah, goats are not the end-all solution to clearing land. They'll get a lot of the green stuff, they'll bend the trees over and eat all the tops off, but they will not take that small stuff down on the ground. And that means you're gonna have to come in and do that later. So a better way to spend your $1,000 would be on a bulldozer, not on goats. But I've never had goats, so what do I know about what they eat and don't eat? I have paid attention. I used to think, you know, back in the day, 6-7 years ago, when I was watching all this instead of out doing it, I saw the same advice being given over and over and over to people who were getting to new land, was that they should get some goats. So I started paying attention to that because I thought that was a good thing. One YouTube that stands out was Justin Rhodes on his Great American Farm Tour. He had stopped at least one place, I think it was he did a few videos on it, where they use goats and pigs in tandem to clear an area. And so that gives you a good idea of, you know, how big of a tree they're just going to leave standing there. And it was, yeah, so that was paying attention to that. Also paying attention to people who try to use the electric poultry netting to keep goats in. And yeah, go find me a channel that successfully does that. That just, goats need better fencing. And I had a friend back in college who I hung out with a lot that had goats, and they were always getting out. That was always a pain. So goats take a lot of time and they take a lot of money. And yeah, and so yeah, even Drew a couple nights ago was, man, maybe you should get some goats. So yeah, I don't hate people. I know you're trying to be helpful. I know there's no ill intentions. And I know, but the thing about advice like that is it catches on. And it catches on to the point where everybody thinks that it's safe to assume that goats are going to help you out. And the goats are not for everybody. Now, I've got nothing against people with goats. The more goats, the merrier out there. I do not care. One thing Joel Salatin says quite often is that the fastest way to ruin a sustainable farm is to get goats. Joel Salatin is not a fan of the goats either for many reasons. You know, they eat everything and then they're done eating everything and then you're feeding them and they don't produce a lot of meat in a fast manner. And the stuff that they do eat, there are other uses for small brush. You know, you can chip it, compost it, chop and drop it. It can turn back into earth. And so goats are just not a sustainable homestead animal. And yeah, but so they're pets, and that's cool. If you want goats as pets, more power to you. You're going to be spending time and money on them, and they're going to be pets. You're not going to break even. You're not going to make any money off of them. But if you want goats for pets, and I'm sure in some situations they'd be great at clearing land if it's not, you know, trees. You know, if a pasture or something was overgrown with, you know, 6 foot tall weeds and grasses, Yeah, they probably take that back down to the ground, but they're not going to do that in a forest. So, all right, I think, am I done with my rant yet? There was one other point I wanted to make about goats. That should be enough evidence to convince you. In conclusion of this rant about goats, I'd just like to say they're not for everyone, that people in my situation that don't have the luxury of extra time and money to spend on goats, that maybe the best advice for somebody in a similar situation to me that I would give them is that if you're going to spend at least $1,000 to get started on goats, and that's not counting the fencing, but if you're going to spend at least $1,000, you're better off spending $1,000 on a bulldozer. You're going to get a lot more done. You're going to be a lot happier with the results, and it's going to be a lot less time and effort from you, because the goats are going to be a ton of time and effort and ongoing money all the time. Now, one thing, when people tell me I should get goats, the first thing I want to ask them is, how much did you spend on the fencing for your goats? That's a fair question. If somebody's going to be telling me I should get goats, well, maybe they should have had some, and maybe they should know how much they cost. And then the next question I would ask people who are telling me to get goats is, during your first 6 months with them, how much money did you spend? Overall on feed, on medicines, on clipping their hooves and whatever else they need, minerals, and yeah, how much did you spend over the 6 months? Because that's what it comes down to, is not money. For people who don't have a lot of money, that's what it comes down to. How much is it going to cost to put up the fencing, and how much is it going to cost to feed them and keep them alive for the first 6 months? And that tells you what the investment is. And I'm telling you, however much money you spend on that, you're better off just getting a bulldozer. You got to clear for the fences to begin with. So that kind of, kills the whole entire point of getting goats. Goats can't clear the fence lines until you got the fences in. All right, back to work. We can start thinking ahead a little bit to the water lines. Now that the septic permit situation is underway, I can give them a call. The water is on the other side of the lane, so they will bring it across the lane and then on this side of the driveway. You can see the driveway behind me. And then so it'll be over in there somewhere, and it'll come straight through here. These two pine trees Yep, those 2 pine trees will probably, they'll definitely have to go. That way we can run the water line basically straight from under the lane, past these trees, and then it'll go straight back to the house site. And the water enters the house in the front, so the straight shot pretty much. And one thing I'd already thought about was putting a water spigot in here. So for when I first moved down there, the chickens will probably be in this area. And so might as well run off a water spigot, you know, right in here while I'm doing it. And one thing that Lindsay suggested, Lindsay into the mist back there.
Hi.
So we went up to It's All Gravy for their birthday party, and they had set up a little entertainment area, and they had some posts, and then they had lights up above, you know, 8 or 10 feet on these posts, and it kind of formed a circle. And so Lindsay got the idea from them, and it's a great idea. So I've got these like 4 trees in here. There's some shade, and put a fire pit in the middle there. And I've got a picnic table. So I can bring a picnic table. So we've got enough room. You can sit around the fire, have a picnic table off to the side, have some party lights up above in the trees. And then around the trees, I can do, you know, little flower garden beds. Maybe do some perennials like daffodils or irises, stuff like that. But I can do, you know, just do whatever. And then also plant the grass. And so this whole area can be a little entertainment area with water right there with the spigot. And that'll help me when the chickens are here. Having a spigot out here is going to help me get them water. And my thinking is leaving them here all winter. And then in the spring, I can try to take control of this, plant what I want, have a spigot here so I can water it and get everything going. And then, yeah, and then so in the spring, I'd be doing grass around this little entertainment area, flowers around the trees. I'll probably do another flower patch in between the trees and the lane. We're gonna have some more Hügelkultur going there. And a big old patch of sunflowers. And then out by the lane, I can do a wildflower mix and grasses to help erosion. That's also edible for the chickens, so I can come out here and I won't have to mow it. Yeah, you get the picture. So yeah, that'd be a nice little oasis. It's got some shade, have a fire pit, a nice picnic table, a water spigot. It just wouldn't have electricity, but you can probably pop a tent. 30 bucks a night, or you got to do my chicken chores for me. We are on the south side of the driveway. These are the south side Hügelkultur, future Hügelkultur. And then most of my property goes down that way. But as you recall, a little while ago, I was all excited about buying seeds and getting seeds and planting seeds. And what happened with that? Well, what happened with that is it didn't rain. When I ordered them, we were forecast for rain for the next 7 days, and it didn't come. And we have not had rain for more than a week, and we have no rain in the forecast for at least another week. So yeah, I put off planting the seeds, and we will go with the flow. Now I'm kind of hoping then I can get the water put in that spigot over there before I plant the seeds. And in fact, I'll probably wait on most of them for the spring after I get the chickens out of here. But there's a lot of area like around those Hügelkultur beds. What I was going to plant there was some a variety of like shorter fescue grasses and wildflowers. I believe I had Sweet William in the mix, I had Cosmos in the mix, I had Blanket Flower in the mix. There was also clover and stuff like that. And so I might still do that over here this year once I get the water in. And because I probably won't put chickens over there. But then over here, I'll probably have chickens around those trees. But here along the ditch, I can plant more of the seed mix that I got. So, you know, not planting grass that would have to be mowed. I'd be doing a strip all the way down the front of the property that would help with the soil erosion. So there'd be a lot of clover in there. There'd be some fescue grass in there also. But then I'm gonna do more wildflowers, and you know, I can throw daffodils and irises and gladiolas and just all kinds of other stuff that this you know, I don't know, maybe an 8-foot patch here where the ditch bottoms out, and just grow something along there right off the bat this fall once I get here. And let's keep walking down because he's still stealing dirt. I don't know where he's going with that one. You can see that big pile there. He's been building that. But yeah, chickens in here for the winter, and then in the spring I'll have garden hoses out here, I'll have seed, and I will be able to much better control what grows in this area. And he is working on these are the garden terraces, and we're turning them into Hügelkultur garden terraces. You can see he just took out that pine tree, and that opened up some more dirt for him to steal for the house site. And that sign right there, that's the northeast corner of my property. But yeah, you can kind of see what he's doing there. There's one tree, so we'll be, and there's more trees over there. So he's digging trenches. We'll fill those up with the trees and the limbs and all the other organic matter that we can grab in the area. And I think we'll have 4 of these once he's done. So that'll be good. I'll probably do a pick your own berry. We're gonna do, well, let's walk back up there. But while we're down here, yeah, I plan on doing some berries in there. As soon as the chickens are out of here and I've got water and can get a hose down here, I'll be planting a mixture of mostly clover and buckwheat and flax in this area. And then around I'll probably just put the short clover around the Hügelkultur garden terraces for like walking paths. And then wherever I don't need a walking path, I can just let the wildflowers and other stuff grow. And that will help, you know, having all that down. That way I'm in control of what's growing here until the wind blows again and more seeds come in. But, you know, starting out with bare earth, it gives you a better chance of controlling it. Yeah, it looks like I need to come out here with my Sawzall and get some little stuff around these trees. And that's something else I can do, like from the trees to the lane out here. I'll probably have a walking path in front of the trees, not on this side of it. So from the trees to the lane out here, all of this can be wildflowers and other stuff. I can do all, yeah, more garden beds, you know, sunflowers, Mexican sunflowers, the Tithonia, Cosmos. Yeah, just all kinds of stuff in there. Let it grow, don't mow it, and have it be beneficial. All right, back up in here, we're thinking about doing more Hügelkultur to steal some more earth, but this is where those burn piles of all that debris was. So we found out from the south side Hügelkultur, there's still a lot of roots and stuff like that. So this pile here, that's mostly just bare earth. There aren't many roots and stuff in here, but once he starts digging in here, he's probably gonna get a lot more roots and stuff, and that doesn't make good for the house site, for packing it down for a house site. You don't want roots and all kinds of a mess in there. But he probably will get, we'll be doing some long ones this way. And again, I'll probably do some type of berries, and you know, maybe 5-8 years in the future, I'll have enough berries out here to do a pick your own berry business. All right, he's getting another load of earth for the home site, and that's what's been going on all day. Robbing earth from the garden terraces and piling it up there, and then taking it in to fill the stump holes. This is the south side Hügelkultur, and now we have another north side Hügelkultur, and the backhoe is done for the day. But we've started 2 large trenches here, and we got 2 trees right here that will go a long way towards filling them up. And yeah, all right. Another very productive day. Drew and Lindsay getting it done, and we'll be out here again next week, I am sure. I got to get home before dark, so thanks for all your support, thanks for watching, and take it easy, everybody. (8:38), I made it home right as it is getting dark. I've got another hour of work left to do, putting all the chickens to bed, and with these youngsters, they are still learning how to roost on the bars. So I'm trying to train them, and you know, while I'm putting everybody to bed, I'm picking up the youngsters and putting them on the roosting bars and hoping they spend the night there, and hoping they learn to do that in the future. But for a week or so, yeah, it's just time consuming. And I see I've got 3 cats already lined up at the back door. It's almost dark, and so they're expecting some food. But yeah, so if you're one of the dozen or so people who I owe a phone call, this is why. I'm just going, you know, all hours. I don't get to sit down until usually about 10 o'clock is when I'm finally finished for the day, and I'll get caught up. I got to take a day off coming up, but I'll get caught up. But yep, that's what happens when you're busy.